When I married Richard, I thought I was stepping into the kind of life every woman dreamed of. Big house, security, elegant dinners, and a man with power. But dreams are deceptive. Within months, the distance started to grow between us. He became preoccupied. Business trips, late-night calls, forgotten conversations. I became background noise in my own marriage. It wasn't supposed to feel like this. I wasn't expecting passion every night, but I didn't expect to feel so invisible either. Then came Aiden. Richard's son from his first marriage. 21. College senior. He moved in for the summer while finishing an internship downtown. I hadn't met him before. We married quickly and Aiden was studying abroad. The first time he walked in I felt something shift. Not because he was handsome, though he was. Tall, confident, the kind of boy who didn't look like a boy at all. But because he looked at me like I mattered. He smiled, really smiled when he saw me. "You must be the new wife," he said, but there was no sarcasm, no judgment. "I'm Aiden. I've heard very little about you." I laughed, surprised by the honesty. "I've heard slightly more about you." He was bold in the way only the young can be, but never disrespectful. He called me by my name, then switched to a teasing, "beautiful stranger," and it stuck. The way he said it made me feel like I had color again. Like someone actually saw me. Richard was barely home that first week. Aiden and I ended up around each other a lot. Mornings in the kitchen. Casual talks while folding laundry. Even silence with him felt safe. One evening I sat by the pool reading. The sun was low. I thought I was alone until I heard a splash. Aiden was in the water swimming laps. His body moved with ease, confident. I watched. I wasn't supposed to, but I did. I noticed things I shouldn't have. The curve of his back, the strength in his arms, the small scar on his shoulder. My throat tightened and I quickly looked away, angry at myself. But later that night as I got into bed alone, I couldn't shake the image. Not just of his body but the way he made me feel. Present, interesting, alive. I hadn't felt that way in months. I told myself it was innocent. That I was just lonely and Aiden was kind. That the thoughts in my head didn't mean anything. But part of me already knew I was lying to myself. Something had started. Quietly. Gently. But undeniably. And it wasn't going away. Aiden started finding reasons to be around me. He offered to help with groceries, fixed the broken patio light without me asking, even joined me in the kitchen pretending to care about recipes. I wasn't naive. I noticed the shift. His compliments became bolder, though still wrapped in humor. "How does someone like you end up with someone like my father?" he asked once, laughing. I smiled, said nothing. But the question lingered. We spent more time together. Naturally at first, then deliberately. He would wait until I poured coffee, then appear behind me, hand outstretched for a mug. He remembered things. My favorite tea. The book I left half-read. He noticed the chipped polish on my nails and offered to repaint them for fun. I refused, laughing. But inside, I ached at how easily he saw the things Richard never even glanced at. One night it rained. Richard was out of town again. Thunder rolled outside and Aiden knocked on my door holding a blanket and a bottle of wine. "You looked stressed earlier," he said. I figured we could unwind. We sat together, close but not touching. Talked about music, art, and places we both wanted to visit. Then the conversation turned quiet. The kind that doesn't need words. Our arms brushed. Neither of us moved. The silence stretched, thick with everything unsaid. He turned to me slowly. "You know what's crazy?" he whispered. "You're the most real person in this house. And yet you're the one pretending the most." I blinked, stunned. He wasn't wrong. I had built this polished version of myself to fit into Richard's world, and somewhere along the way I disappeared. I stood up, tried to shake it off. "It's getting late." He looked up at me, calm. "You deserve to be happy. I hope you know that." That night I lay in bed, my skin still tingling from the nearness. I dreamt of him. Not explicit but intimate. His hand on my cheek, the way he looked at me when I wasn't watching. I woke up breathless, ashamed. I avoided him the next day, busying myself with chores. He didn't press. But he knew. His eyes held a quiet challenge, like he was waiting to see how far I'd go pretending none of it mattered. By the end of the week, the tension was constant. A single glance across the room could unravel me. A smile from him sent my thoughts spiraling. I was losing grip, slipping toward something I couldn't name but craved more than I wanted to admit. I had told myself I was strong, loyal, that I knew the difference between right and wrong. But Aiden had become gravity. And I was already falling. Richard forgot our anniversary. No text. No call. Just another message about a delayed flight and back-to-back meetings. I stared at the untouched dinner I had prepared, candles flickering for no one. My phone buzzed. Aiden. You okay? He asked. I didn't answer right away. Then I typed, not really. 15 minutes later he was at the door with wine and 2 glasses. No questions. Just presence. He sat beside me, poured a drink and waited. I told him everything, how invisible I felt, how tired I was of pretending things were fine. He listened, never interrupting. His eyes were soft, steady and far too knowing. You deserve more than silence, he said, voice low. You deserve someone who chooses you every single day. Tears slipped down my cheek before I could stop them. He reached for my hand, held it gently, and when I didn't pull away he moved closer. The moment stretched, heavy, and when he leaned in I didn't resist. Our lips met, soft and slow, nothing rushed. My mind screamed no, but my body leaned in as if it had been waiting. We kissed like we had always known it would happen. Nothing about it felt mistaken, only inevitable. When we pulled apart, breathless, he whispered, I've wanted this for longer than I should admit. I didn't speak. I couldn't. I kissed him again instead, this time with urgency. His hands wrapped around me like he was afraid I'd vanish. Every second felt dangerous, thrilling, wrong, and yet more real than anything I had known in months. We didn't stop. We didn't pause to consider the weight of it. My wedding ring lay cold on the nightstand, irrelevant in that moment. Afterward, we lay in silence, side by side, hearts pounding. I stared at the ceiling, flooded with guilt and desire all at once. He reached for my hand again, lacing our fingers together. I don't regret it, he said softly. Do you? I didn't answer. Regret wasn't the right word. It was more complicated than that. I felt exposed, like a dam had broken and everything I had held back came rushing through. I got up, wrapped in the silence. The room suddenly felt too small, the air too thick. I avoided his eyes as I dressed. Then my phone lit up on the table. It was Richard. Landing earlier than expected. Should be home tonight. Let's talk. My stomach dropped. The weight of what I'd done hit all at once. Loud, hard, unforgiving. Aiden stood behind me now, quiet. I turned to face him, unsure of what came next. His expression was unreadable. Maybe he didn't know either. We had crossed the line. There was no going back. I stared at the message from Richard, my mind blank. My body still hummed from what had just happened, but the reality crashed down with brutal clarity. I had crossed a line I told myself I never would. Now my husband was coming home and I didn't even know how to look at myself, let alone him. Aiden stood in the doorway watching me silently. What are you going to do? He asked. I didn't know. I couldn't answer. He walked closer, his voice steady. We both felt it. It wasn't just lust. You know that. I nodded barely. He took my hands in his. Come with me. We don't have to pretend anymore. I'll move out, we'll figure it out. You're not happy with him and you haven't been. It was the first time he'd said it so directly and it made the air feel heavier. The idea of leaving Richard, of running toward something uncertain, terrified me. Aiden was young. Passionate. But what if it was only that? Passion, not permanence. I can't make that decision in one night, I whispered. He looked disappointed but not surprised. If you stay, you'll keep dying a little every day. I see it. I've seen it since I got here. I didn't respond. The door between fantasy and reality had slammed shut, and I was left standing in the wreckage. That night, Richard came home early like he said. He greeted me with warmth I hadn't seen in months. He handed me a small box, an apology gift. A bracelet. Simple, expensive, meaningless. I know I've been distant, he said. Let's start fresh. I forced a smile. The guilt screamed beneath my skin. I thought about confessing. Telling him everything. But I didn't. Not because I was scared of losing him, but because I didn't know what telling would fix. The next morning I told Aiden it couldn't continue. His jaw tightened. So that's it? We pretend it never happened. I'm sorry, I said. I don't have the strength for chaos. You already created it, he snapped. Now you're just choosing who gets hurt. He left the house that day. Packed quickly, didn't say goodbye to Richard. I watched from the window, heart breaking in ways I didn't expect. Days passed. I went through the motions. Smiled when I had to. Nodded during dinners. Richard didn't ask questions. Maybe he didn't want to know. Weeks later something felt off. I took a test. Then another. My hands trembled. Positive. I sat in the bathroom staring at the result, numb. I did the math. There was no certainty. No comfort. Just a devastating truth. I was carrying a consequence. I looked at my reflection, barely recognizing the woman in the mirror. Was it love? Or was it desperation? Was I selfish or just human? Either way, I crossed a line. And lines once crossed don't disappear. They stay. Quiet. Permanent. Etched into you forever.